I want to open up. I'm going to go right to C Money on this. C Money, I want to talk about the announcement itself because you and I, along with, on your panels, on my panels, I've talked with Crispy numerous times. I haven't had an opportunity to speak with Shadows in a minute, but we have been hearing since last year. And actually, this goes all the way back to Special Nick. So give that poor man the shout out because he originally announced that this was happening. And of course, over the years, it took a long time to get to the announcement. He was panned by many people in this community, and he was right. Special Nick does have connections and really good ones for that matter. And it took a long time for this particular situation to materialize, but here we are. Now, ultimately, it's not the Marcus Phoenix collection as it was thought to be, but that's because they released one because it includes multiplayer. So you were getting all of the DLC, you were getting all the multiplayer at 120 frames, you were getting the single player running at a locked 60 frames. It's going to look gorgeous. It's going to be the best version of Gears of War 1. And this announcement comes out of nowhere. Like literally on a Monday morning, it just drops. Boom.
5 hours late.
And you know what? It's one of those situations where, we went from Xbox has no games to the point where literally Xbox has so many games, they have to do this. Like it can't all be at June. It can't all be at the developer direct that they have every, January of every year, the last couple of years. So on a manic Monday, boom, Gears of War Reloaded drops. And, I want to get your thoughts on it before we get into the actual announcement for PlayStation, because I think a lot of people, even though we knew this was happening, some people in this community are acting a little bit brand new. Like, they're clutching their pearls because this game is going over there. And I get it for the purists, but this is what's happening. Don't act brand new. So let's get your thoughts on the announcement, C Money.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you kind of nailed it, right? We've been speaking so long about the idea of this game. It's kind of been like an open secret that, people knew that this was happening. And, I mean, as far as like him, Special Nick knowing this, I do think there's 3 of them being made. I do. I think they just, I think they just separated them, especially with like the whole PlayStation thing and it going elsewhere. It's kind of like they never had them, so why give it to them in one shot? You know what I'm saying? Milk it one at a time. They'll buy. It'll be good. I mean, obviously we didn't get like a trailer for it, right? It just dropped with news, and we got screenshots.
Yeah,
right?
we got 4K screenshots is what we got.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like just straight up the announcement, it was exciting for it to be finally confirmed that this was happening. I wish that there was a dope trailer to go with it. That would have been really good. And I think that would have been more helpful because, I mean, the words that they say make it sound like it's a substantial, remaster. But like the pictures that they show, it looks better for sure, but it's not like Oblivion remastered. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. It's not like a easy leap. Now maybe that's unfair because we're probably looking at Ultimate Edition of Gears 1 versus what it looked like when it actually first launched. 20 years ago or whatever, 19 years ago. But I kind of was thinking or hoping that it was going to be more in line with like a, not quite E-Day, but not quite Gears 5. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought it was going to be probably more of a substantial, like, hey, look at what this is. Again, not that it's stopping me. It does look better, and I am excited to, play through it again. It's one of the first games that me and the missus beat the whole game co-op. So this is going to be fun to kind of relive that 19 years ago. Jesus Christ. Yeah. it's gonna be fun to do that. So I'm pumped. I'm also glad that there's gonna be a whole new generation of people who are gonna be able to experience where it all started. You know what I'm saying? Like the first one, the main story that kind of honestly was like the one of the most impactful ones. And then obviously, I got that same thing right in my cupboard too, bro. Oh man, that was a beautiful case.
20 years, man.
That is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, it's good. And then I hope that we're gonna see the other ones, relatively quickly. I don't necessarily want to go years before we see the part 2, because it's clear they didn't do like a complete overhaul where it would take them that much longer, right? Like I feel like once they got one into the new version that they're doing, I feel like it should be pretty easy to do the rest. So, maybe every year we get another one, or every 6 months or so, but probably closer to like maybe next year we'll get the next one. Who knows? But as far as just the announcement is concerned, I'm glad it happened. It was nice to get that confirmation. I'm pumped that we got more gears. I'm excited to go through it again. It's going to play and look better than it ever has, which is fantastic. Just wish we got a trailer to go with it, because that might have made it look better than just the screenshots did. And that's it, man. I kind of wish it would look more like, Gears 5 plus, you know what I'm saying, versus, something that just kind of looks better.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with you. I think that a trailer would have been dope. I don't know if that trailer is going to come in June, right along, because there's supposed to be some big announcements, and I would imagine that Gears E-Day is going to have one, and of course, getting a chance to see this thing running would be what everyone is looking for. I totally get that.
But I also feel like that would be such a waste to do it at June Showcase, because if you're going to do it at June Showcase, it's not coming out till August. Like, why not just wait for the moment where you drop the trailer and we're like, oh my god, what's this? And then it turns out to be Reloaded, right? Like, if you're gonna wait to June, I feel like that'd be dumb. I feel like you got to do it either before or after. Don't put this at June Showcase, because then it's kind of like, why'd you even do it, right? But when you do think about it, you can kind of see maybe the fact that it's going to PlayStation. They wanted to kind of get that out the way so that when they do drop the trailer, that talk is kind of died down, and we've moved past the bullshit. So that's a possibility as well. So who knows?
I mean, listen, again, for me personally, as a diehard fan, for a lot of personal reasons, like I said the other day, like why it means so much to me is because I played this game with my brother from start to finish. And we did it. We used to do it annually. Like, it wasn't, like we just stopped after we beat it. We'd always return to this and play because of how impactful the game was for us during the Xbox 360. And of course, that was at the height of, playing online. Like, I know it started on the Xbox, the OG Xbox, but it really found its footing and its purpose during the Xbox 360. And when this game came out in 2006, I mean, it was the greatest thing we've ever seen in gaming. You got to remember, we're coming off of the PS1, we're coming off of the Dreamcast, we're coming off the GameCube, and then of course this comes out and it's like, whoa, like, are you kidding me? So to get this thing remade, and again, it's technically going to be remade another time. I think that this is going to be the best running, best looking version of it. And again, I do agree with you. They probably should have had a trailer. I think that would have been much better for the announcement. I mean, again, my hype is through the roof, obviously, but I do think that they should have had a trailer. So I do agree with you there. I do want to bring Shadows in. I want to get your thoughts and your excitement for this, because we have not had a new Gears of War since the DLC came out. And even though that's a standalone and it was absolutely amazing, we haven't had a standard Gears release in a very long time.
Yeah.
And obviously last year's announcement of Gears of War E-Day brought the house down. and everyone is excited because we're going to finally get a chance to actually see E-Day happen. Like, we're going to be a part of it as characters, and it's going to be amazing. And that is obviously not coming this year. That is coming next year on the 20th anniversary of Gears of War. But before we get into the ramifications of it going to PlayStation and whether or not this is going to help the franchise grow, because I know everyone on the panel has some thoughts and theories as to that, I do want to get your excitement and your thoughts regarding the excitement of the announcement, because even though we kind of felt and heard this was happening, it had never been confirmed, and well, here it is.
Yeah, so I would say, just to obviously give a lot of context, just to introduce myself, if you don't know me, my name is Lee. I've been playing Gears of War since literally day one, 2006 Emergence Day, OG, all 19 years. I've been creating Gears of War content for 12 years straight. I absolutely love this franchise. It's my life and everything. And from especially someone obviously in the Gears of War community, deep Gears of War fan through and through, this is the best announcement probably since Microsoft announced that they acquired the Gears of War franchise in 2014. Yeah, this is probably by far, without a doubt, the biggest moment in Gears of War as a franchise since Gears of War 3 release back in 2011. Obviously, the thing with Gears of War as well, you've got to think about, like you say, it has been 6 years since Gears 5, but it's been 14 years since a obviously new Gears of War entry with Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago as the main characters. Obviously, we got Gears of War E-Day announced last year. That brought the hype back, definitely, with what feels like a return to form of glory, with obviously a pause on Gear 6 and the next new mainline game, seeing it obviously go back to E-Day, the Locust War, like young Marcus and Dom, basically taking like all of the big pluses of what obviously made the original trilogy so successful, and seeing obviously if like, okay, can this work today? Can this work in the modern age? And then to even just take it a step further and come back and be like, yo, we're doing Gears of War 1 again. And this is obviously our doorway into, the approach that Microsoft, Xbox, and what seems like gaming is potentially heading into the future. But yeah, again, this is by far for Gears fans, like the beacon of hope that we've been literally waiting on. Crispy spoke about it a little bit in the show before, but currently, to obviously try and give you an insight into Gears right now, obviously we've been playing Gears 5 for 6 years. The situation that happened with that game was such a roller coaster of up and down emotions for the Gears of War community. A lot of people left, a lot of people felt really sour from just the direction Gears 5 took, because it came out at launch. The game was completely busted. Multiplayer didn't actually work in Europe for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And obviously the first 3 operations were really lackluster. The game had no content at launch, it only had one legacy character in Marcus Phoenix, had no Locust, there was hardly anything in the game.
And we hated the tour of duty, right?
Yeah, pretty much everything about Gears 5 at launch that may have sounded good on paper, that was just, unfortunately either executed wrongly or just the Gears fans didn't like it. Or it was just basically a step backwards from Gears of War 4. Like the perfect example was something as simple as just earnable content in the game. In Gears of War 4, they had a credit system with the gear packs. Okay, the gear packs were controversial, RNG loot boxes, but the credit system that they added was an opportunity to obviously earn a currency in-game that you could then go and get all of the content in-game for free by simply obviously just playing the game, exchanging your time for play, and obviously building up your credit system, and then obviously being able to buy all the characters, the skins, and all that stuff. When obviously Gears 5 came out, they decided, okay, let's actually walk away from that. Instead of having obviously a repeat with the same currency system, they like completely separated the content to be like, some of it's earnable, some of it's like FOMO, like stuck in a store that you have to pay only, you can't earn it. And then they had like the Tour of Duty, which was like a sort of failed attempt of like a battle pass thing that you basically, if you didn't play the season, you missed it forever. And so there was a lot of like up and downs throughout the beginning of Gears 5. And then obviously within a few months, Rod Ferguson comes down, he's like, yo, I'm leaving. And it's like, what? We just got Gears 5. What about you leaving? So the head of studio obviously leaves the coalition in early 2020. And then we're obviously thinking as Gears of War fans, like, what is going on? Like, we just got Gears 5. First 3 operations weren't that great. And then obviously the head of the studio is leaving. Like, this is not looking good, And then the rest of Gears 5 was basically just to try and obviously get to the point where to get it playable. But they obviously decided in early 2020 when they got access to Unreal Engine 5. And this is obviously the same time when they obviously decided to go in a direction with Gears of War E-Day and what they're doing right now. It's just that obviously, unfortunately, for the Gears of War community and Gears fans that obviously love playing Gears daily, regularly, like all the time, Gears 5 kind of just got not that great reception with the community. And then pretty much, obviously, Gears 5 came out in 2019. We only had 2 years of support, and the game was dropped. The game was dropped, no content, no updates, no new stuff, no esports, like everything was just basically dropped. So it's like Gears fans, we just kind of felt like we're just dead in the water, right? Like, what's going on? And so obviously we've just been waiting 6 years, but now obviously with Gears of War E, they announced, Gears of War Reloaded announced, it all makes sense to, what they've obviously been doing, but it was just a little bit hard for Gears fans and the Gears community to obviously go through that. But I think with obviously the Gears of War Reloaded announcement, you're talking about why would they do it on a random Monday? I don't know. But, C Money's also brought up the fact about like the trailer and that. And if we go over obviously the past of the Gears of War series, since Gears of War 3, there has always been a multiplayer beta. Gears of War 3 had one, Gears of War Judgment had one, Gears of War Ultimate Edition had one. And if you want to talk about Gears of War Ultimate Edition, obviously how it like compares to Gears of War Reloaded. When they announced Gears of War Ultimate Edition 10 years ago at the Xbox show in 2015, it was all right, we're going to announce Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and then we're also announcing a public multiplayer beta that you can go play live today. And it launched, shadow dropped in that Xbox show. Wow. So you're asking, like, why have they also came out with a random announcement now? And they've also obviously confirmed that the Xbox Game Showcase next month is digital only. Please stay at home. What if they're obviously setting themselves up for, right, let's get the announcement out for Reloaded to obviously start, getting a little bit of hype going. Like, we can't obviously talk about Gears of War E-Day before the showcase, but we've got this other Gears of War thing obviously happening first. Get that out there. Get Gears fans excited. Get Xbox fans excited. Get obviously all gamers now excited for Gears of War. We'll get into that. And maybe potentially for the Xbox showcase, you're asking what they're going to do and, where's the trailer? Like, what if obviously there's a Gears of War Reloaded trailer to obviously announce that we are also shadow dropping a Gears of War Reloaded multiplayer beta to obviously play test and, stress test all the different platforms, all the different servers, just to make sure everything runs smoothly. Because again, like I said, we've had Gears of War beta since 2011. Why would that change? Especially obviously with 3 different platforms potentially going at it on gridlock. Nash's coming out. So the Gears fan get me a little bit excited. Try and obviously answer C Money's question about where's the trailer. I think that potentially could happen. And then also just to talk about Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3 Reloaded, and obviously all of the Gears of War collection rumors as that happened. I think Special Nick was the first person ever to basically say, I think in January 2022, I think it was the first time ever that obviously there was going to be another potentially Microsoft collection, which then obviously led to being potentially a Gears of War collection. That was only shortly after obviously Gears 5 content support ended. So that's obviously been something quite big in the Gears of War community and everybody's been talking about for a long time. And I've always been under the impression that I never believed the Gears of War collection to ever exist, because if you were going to do it right, you need to have campaign, multiplayer, and obviously if it is the right Gears of War game, Horde mode. Like, there's no way you can release a Gears of War game and it's campaign only, right? And there's no multiplayer. Like, it would just been absolutely bad news, especially for the Gears of War community. Like I said, we've been going through the motions of Gears 5, like when's this new Gears of War? Like, I need something new, please, man, please. And then obviously, if we got a Gears of War Reloaded announcement, and then they came out, it's like, it's campaign only. The Gears of War community would just flip the table, man, flipping all the tables. I think, again, this is definitely by far the best situation for if you are a Gears of War fan. And I know Xbox gamers definitely have a little bit of a different maybe mindset, especially when it obviously comes to exclusives and stuff like that. But I think in the long run, especially for the importance of the Gears of War IP, Crispy Bomb, brought it up a little bit. Obviously, because I'm from the UK, I'm trying to play Gears 5 now. I maybe find 1 match per hour, but I have American friends that still have access to most of the game modes, and they can play at pretty much any time of the day. And I can search the same game mode as them at the same time, and they get lobbies, and I won't, simply because I'm over here in the UK and Europe. So for the Gears of War franchise over on this side of the world, it's a real struggle for us, especially for us that are super passionate about Gears of War, and we just sit there trying to get games, and there's absolutely nothing to play because obviously the way that dedicated servers work, and it's all North America and obviously South America, Latin America, where Mexico and that is that's where 90% of the Gears of War population is. So if you're a passionate Gears of War fan from UK, Europe, Asia, Australia. Like the Australians haven't been able to play Gears of War for, I don't know, like 5 years. They have to I've got quite a few Australian dedicated Gears of War fans that obviously use my live streams to know when I'm playing so that I can invite them just so they can get lobbies. They're on 500 ping, and it's like they're playing on Mars with Elon in 1962. They ain't got
I love that.
they're shooting like this, walking into walls, but they're still here trying to play. And that's what, the passion that Gears of War fans have, that even if we're lagging at 500 ping in Australia, they're still trying to get their Gears of War in, man. So hopefully, obviously, with everything that's going on with Gears of War right now, this is the re-emergence. And I did tweet out a lot of my, thoughts on Twitter. And if realistically, you obviously look at the situation right now with them, obviously not doing a Gears of War collection with the free games, and instead they're just doing Gears of War 1 as Reloaded, then yeah, as you guys have already said that, I would obviously assume they would be then doing Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3 as well. I've speculated, it's interesting they don't obviously mention Unreal Engine or any of the game engine in the Xbox One announcement for Gears of War Reloaded. To me, that maybe tells me that obviously this game is not in UE5, even though they announced obviously back in, I think it was 2021, we're moving on to obviously Unreal Engine 5 development. To me, because obviously this is Gears of War Ultimate Edition, technically maybe remastered, and that game was made in Unreal Engine 3. So I actually do think that Gears of War Reloaded is probably just an Unreal Engine 3 game that is maybe had some sort of modern gaming technology, obviously added to it with the modern tech available through Unreal Engine. Because if you look at obviously the comparison screenshots, the best one to look at is an Embry Square with the water. If you look at obviously the original Xbox 360 Gears of War 2006 version, you can't really see the Ultimate Edition because it's a bit covered, but you can sort of see the water in the Gears of War Reloaded. That's basically where all of the obviously enhancements are. So realistically, if you were to play Gears of War Ultimate Edition on PC right now, you are almost pretty much playing Gears of War Reloaded already. It's just that obviously it's more on the console side and the console push for this Gears of War Reloaded, and obviously fixing the issues of Gears of War Ultimate Edition when it came out on Xbox Pass, because this was before the current new Xbox with Game Pass and cross-play, cross-buy, and all the other stuff that comes with Xbox today. Gears of War Ultimate Edition in 2015 and then 2016 was separate releases. The Xbox community and the PC community were separated. They couldn't play with each other. And obviously the PC version just instantly died, So the fact that we're going to be able to get potentially the Gears of War Ultimate Edition that we had 10 years ago, but the new version of what Xbox does today is just the best thing ever. And obviously looking at what we have already announced, we've got 2 Gears of War games. We've got 2 Netflix projects. If they potentially do Gears of War 2 Reloaded and Gears of War 3 Reloaded, I would imagine for their 20-year anniversaries retrospectively, for the next 6 years, you are looking at potentially 6 different Gears of War releases for the IP. If you wanted to just put it in a little order of obviously what's already announced and what could be coming, Gears of War Reloaded obviously confirmed for 2025. Gears of War E-Day obviously got announced last year. We do have the 20th anniversary in November next year. To me, that would obviously be Gears of War E-Day's launch. So we could potentially have Reloaded in 25, E-Day in 26, follow that up with the Gears of War Netflix live action movie ready to go in 2027. You then have the 20th anniversary of Gears of War 2 in 2028. Maybe that's when you drop a Gears of War 2 Reloaded. You then follow that up with the second Netflix project already announced, the Gears of War Netflix animated series in 2029. And then obviously there's about a 2-year gap there between then dropping the Gears of War 3 Reloaded for its 20-year anniversary from 2011 to obviously 2031. I also did mention as well, the success of Gears 5 Highbusters, and obviously showing that we don't necessarily need obviously a brand new Gears of War game release every single time to get even more new story narratives. And I haven't spoken about this right now, but I'll drop a little bit of an exclusive idea that I have. Gears of War E-Day, in my opinion, could serve as a Gears of War gaming platform to then have further campaign DLCs released, potentially yearly. So obviously tell, different sides of the Emergence Day story from obviously different perspectives of other characters all around the world. Because obviously Emergence Day is a global phenomenon. This is an event that obviously takes place over the whole planet. So obviously every single character that is alive on E-Day, whether they are human or even Locust, they all have a story to tell. So we could even see a Ram Shadow If you've ever read the Gears of War Rise of Rome comics, it actually depicts the first battle of Emergence Day, which is General Ram, Cater Scourge, Farron Guards, and a bunch of locusts invading one of the COG's largest sort of like military bases in Janamon. And this military base is where a lot of the King Raven helicopters, a lot of the Centaur tanks, a lot of the like heavy duty military technology the COG like hold. This is sort of like their little secret military base, right? And the locusts just come up through the middle and absolutely decimate. And Ram and Scourge have a great time killing all the COG. And you know, unfortunately, there's a Carmine in there, and you know what happens to Carmines. But you know, we could potentially get that like same story from the comics, but obviously like transferred into a playable campaign DLC, where now you're playing Gears of War, you know, co-op. You're General Ram and your buddy Scourge, right? And you're just messing up COG troops left and right. And they could obviously make like a gory, super bloody, but like brothers to the end style, flipped on its side, Locust perspective campaign story. And again, there's so much potential in the Gears of War universe. You've got Garen Paddock, if you know him from Gears of War Judgment and Gears Fire, the UIR, you know, the guy that messes with a bed a little bit. You know, he was located in his country of Groznia, which is a UIR territory that we've never seen before. And they were actually the first target by Zamil Khan, who is the villain in Gears of War Judgment, the one that rides the like Shibboleth. Mm-hmm. He was designated to go obviously take out the entirety of the UIR because they were the faction that obviously lost to the COG in the Pendulum Wars. And so he was obviously targeted with destroying that civilization. And the Gears of War story just goes deep, man. Like that little civilization was a 400,000 kingdom in the Silver Age. We're talking like in the age of Armageddon, millions of years before the story events of Gears of War today. And by Emergence Day, that entire kingdom, because of the Locust attack, is like reduced to 4,000. So like that just shows you obviously the brink and the chaos that obviously Gears of War Emergence Day is going to bring. And just, again, there's just potential of Gears of War, the passion that we have. And I've probably got to start talking, bro, because I could probably honestly go on for hours and hours. But hey, that's what
I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. You putting it down, and we definitely a lot of the stuff I did.
I'm learning a lot of shit about Gears that
bro. Honestly, like this is like going to school and really enjoying the course.
I told you he was an encyclopedia. Okay.
Yeah, I just listen to myself, man. I know. I just keep going, but I feel like that's probably a good enough amount to share, you know.
Well, listen, you did a great job, brother, and you kind of really put down. You know, shout out to Lady Foxfire, who is another ginormous Gears head. She's in the chat. Great to see her here, and she yelled out in all caps. She loves this roadmap, Shadows, and it does sound like legit.
I think it's super realistic, you know. Like we already have obviously Gears of War Reloaded announced. That's confirmed for this year. Gears of War E-Day obviously announced last year. Like, there's no way. Like, typically every Gears of War game has been released a year after. And I said last year, obviously Gears of War E-Day being announced in 24, regardless if E-Day is this year or not, had to confirm that there was a Gears of War release this year, because there's no way we would go with the hype and the high of like Gears of War E-Day finally been announced, and we've been waiting 6 years playing Gears 5, and for then obviously to go another year into 2025 and then just be like, oh, we're ready. And then it's like, oh, we're not quite ready yet. We'll give you another year. And it's like, nah, I'm ready now. Yeah. So that's why Gears of War Reloaded is going to fill that boot. Yeah.
So Shadow, I saw in the chat, somebody bring up a point that I don't know how, you know, relevant it will actually be to what's the reality. But the fact that I forget, I feel bad because I forget who wrote it, but they brought up the idea that the fact that this has multiplayer, doesn't that kind of not bode well for the idea of E-Day coming, you know, soon after that? Because like, because E-Day is going to have its own multiplayer, right? So are you going to introduce a new multiplayer, have brand new people go over there, and then what's going to happen when the new E-Day comes? That this becomes a ghost town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's basically kind of what did happen, obviously, with Gears of War Ultimate Edition and Gears of War 4 releasing a year later. However, I think this multi-platform push that Gears of War is desperately needed for longevity-wise, player base-wise, health-wise. You know, I think you come out with Gears of War Reloaded as basically immortalizing the Gears of War 1 experience now forever, with the potential to have a good, healthy player base because it is multi-platform crossplay. That was obviously what the previous Gears of War Ultimate Edition in 2015 obviously didn't have, and that kind of, I feel like, led to its downfall. Whereas this time around, the fact that you've got Gears of War Reloaded going out on Xbox, you've got it going out on PlayStation 5, you've got it out on Windows PC, you've got it out on Steam, you've got it out on cloud gaming, you can get it on Game Pass console, you can get it on Game Pass Ultimate. I think that just gives the opportunity to obviously not only, because the main thing about like remaking these original Gears of War trilogy games is the story. But like I said, as a Gears of War fan, the Gears of War community, if the Coalition thought of bringing these out with no multiplayer, like people would have been raging.
Yeah.
Like they would just been like the online Twitter, Gears of War would just be going madness because, again, we got cut so short in Gears 5 2 years in. So then obviously wait this long to not have any like new multiplayer experience to play would have just been absolutely a disaster. And so I feel like, you know, maybe they could have obviously not included the multiplayer, but I feel like they obviously just got to include that in there to bring the full package. But maybe, you know, you sunset the obviously Xbox 360 games because that's the thing with Gears of War. There's still little pockets of community that are still playing actively every single game. Like you could still go on Gears of War 2 at like nighttime in the American time zone, and you will find Ranked Guardian on Gears of War 2, which obviously came out like, 17 years ago, but there's still people playing that today, 17 years later. No matter what other games come out, no matter there's even newer Gears of War games, you can play, you know, dedicated servers, better frame rate, better resolution. You still got like a good couple of thousand people that are still playing Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3. I don't even know if they're like backwards compatible. They might even still be on the Xbox 360 console at this rate. But, you know, they're playing laggy, like host base, like, you know, 30 frames, 720p, and they're loving it. Yeah. So, you know, this is obviously a love letter to, you know, Gears fans, the Gears of War community. But, like, this is basically the ultimate step to obviously, like, try and get Gears of War to be on the main stage of, like, some of the best, biggest gaming franchises of all time, as it so well deserves. As a Gears of War fan since the original, I literally grew up in school where I had maybe one or two kids in my year that played Gears of War, but nobody played it. Nobody cared about Gears of War. I was the only person that played it. Everybody was on the Xbox 360, had a couple PlayStation 3 mans. But when I was a kid in school, middle school, high school, it was all about Xbox 360. But nobody played Gears of War. I don't know if it was a UK thing or whatever. In the UK, it was COD, FIFA, Call of Duty, FIFA, Call of Duty, FIFA. And it's still probably like that today. So, like, even back then, I always felt like Gears of War was forever underrated. And obviously opening the franchise up to more platforms, more players, bigger player base.
You know what?
You know, more Gears fans, like just healthier franchise IP overall. Especially like, you know, if you watch the Gears of War movie, let's say if it comes out in the next 2 years on Netflix, you don't have an Xbox, but you've got a PlayStation 5. You don't want to be like, I can go watch, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold it.
Yeah. Hold your thoughts there because I do want to get into that, but before we do, I didn't get a chance to speak with Crispy. Crispy, again,
I want to hear what he says. Yeah,
you've been on many of the shows where we've talked about the Gears of War trilogy, the Marcus Phoenix collection, and obviously there's a rumor, folks. It's floating around. Go anywhere where people are talking about Gears of War, and Gears 2 and 3 Reloaded are in that conversation. And are they happening? I can't confirm it. I don't know anybody at the Coalition that's going to give that kind of information to me. But we got one, and it only makes sense that 2 and 3 are happening. But Crispy, I do want to get your thoughts on that, how this thing just dropped. It dropped on a Monday out of nowhere, and I think a lot of that has to do with Xbox literally having so much to show in June. They're like, we just got to get these announcements out of the way. Let's get your thoughts on that, man.
I don't think that. I actually think that they realized that with the price increase that they got a lot of flack and a lot of, not great content for themselves. I mean, we look at Xbox at this point, and mostly they go to socials more than any other company. They don't put a lot on, like, the Super Bowl or something like that. They really look at what the consumer wants. And I truly believe, and this is an opinion, is that Xbox looked at how the Gears family, like myself, like Shadows, like even you both, you have to realize that they looked at that and said, no multiplayer. They put that out there. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
They put that out there, and people said, F no. Okay. And maybe I'm talking for me and Shadows more than anybody else. But you look at what they have projected right now. And let's be honest here. Okay. Gears 5 is a totally different game from Gears 1. Like Shadows. Come on, bro. Multiplayer, totally different game.
Well, even just not going crazy into it, like simple, quickly, like even the smallest thing, like the movement mechanics in Gears of War 1, there's no wall cancel. Now, like if you ain't a Gears of War player, you ain't even know what I'm even talking about. And so like that's what I mean of how hard and deep Gears of War goes. But yeah, Gears 1 compared to all the other Gears of War games ever is the only game that has no wall cancel, which is basically the ability to stop you taking cover. In Gears 1, when you go to press A or your action button to take cover, you have to take that, like you have to do it. You can't back out. In the other games where it's called wall cancel, where basically as you're sliding into the wall, you can like pawn your analog stick mid like wall bounce and bring obviously your character, like you can basically cancel the animation. Whereas in Gears 1, it's like you have to commit to that animation. So even the movement in Gears of War 1, Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and Gears of War Reloaded is totally different to all the other Gears of War games. But yeah, continue.
Let's be honest here. Like most PlayStation gamers have no clue what the hell you just said. It's one of those things, okay, where I say,
oh man, it's gonna be a long day, PlayStation, man. It's gonna be a long day.
Look at a game, okay? Like it's like Halo. Like I don't understand Halo like Boom does, or C Money. You understand what I'm saying? I don't understand it. I I'll be frank. I'm also blind in my right eye. In first-person shooters, I hate them. Okay, I hate them. All right, but at the same time, do you understand what we go through? You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things that at first I was like, where's Gears 2 and Gears 3? Because, I mean, I was a part of Gears 3 beta. I killed like 20 people with a sawed-off and a natural. Okay? Like, that's what I did in the beta. Okay? And then they murked them, especially the sawed-off. They murked it. Okay? And they're like, no, you can't do that. But at the same time, I had like many, many people that hit me up and was like, that was the greatest thing I ever seen. You were basically in TDM and 15 people with respawns and you killed them all and won the match. And I said, and guess what? They nerfed it. Because like all I did was they kept using the sawed off. I kept picking it up. I kept, just going around the box in trenches, by the way.
Yeah.
Trenches, by the way.
Yeah.
And this is what I say. Understand that these people, they play like, okay, like what does PlayStation guys play? Oh, apparently Call of Duty, right? This is not the same realm, my friend.
Oh, man.
Y'all think you got something? I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't got shit.
I'm gonna
save that for the second question.
Yeah, save that for the second question because that's really the second half of the show is what the significance of this means it going on to PlayStation 5 because there are a lot of Xbox purists that are pissed. They don't like this.
They can be as mad as they want, boom. But the fact is that me and Shadows, I know that, look at this and say, Gears lives.